All right. Wednesday, July 23rd, we got another competition coming up on the tour this season. We're still in the United States. We got Monster Games this weekend. I'm at Patrick's house. He's out running some errands right now, and we'll to get ready for the trip. But he'll be on in a little bit, and up until that time, we got a much more distinguished guest, I would say, Jason Ansley, the owner of Monster Games, and big year for you in general. But I think this last month you've really been focusing on getting ready for this edition of the Monster Games, which it's going to be my first time to be able to experience it live, and just want to give you the first stage to maybe intro people to Monster Games history and bring them up to speed if they haven't had familiarity with it in the past.
Yeah, we're in year 8. So we were former affiliate owners where we owned 4 gyms and, of course, started a competition and did it in the gym the first year. And it was a team of 4 comp. And, it went really well and made enough money to buy some new plates and stuff like that. And then just had a little bit more desire to, like, what would it look like to expand this? And I played college baseball at Missouri Southern State University. And so I reached out to the college and they were more than happy to have us on campus. And so that's kind of the first time we went off site, which is a whole different animal. And that kind of helped, do some things and expand. And year 3 was COVID year. And then we wound up being able to host it. We were one of the only competitions in the country hosting. And that's kind of where we blew up, for lack of a better word. We had a massive waiting list. People were calling me like crazy trying to get into the comp, and 2021 is kind of the same way. And then we introduced an individual field in 2022, created an online qualifier, created an elite field, signed First Phorm as our title sponsor, which of course helped. And so we're entering year 8. So we're been in Joplin for 7 years, and we just moved to Overland Park, Kansas, which is a market in Kansas City. So we're really excited about that. So that's kind of the 30,000-foot view of who Monster Games is and what we've been doing. So,
yeah, and we kind of mentioned in the intro that it's a big year for you, as you obviously have your hands in the World Fitness Project adventure as well.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe doing that this year, it's kind of a cool concept integrating with the move of locations for Monster Games, because you really, I think, on both fronts getting to experience what working with a new community like that wants to host and integrate with something that you've created is all about. And I think that even in the small conversations that we've had, there's some stuff that you're excited for this year's Monster Games that might be a little bit new, just because it is a new place that you're going to.
Yeah, it has been a big year. It's been busy. And, when you decide to move to a new city, there's just a whole lot of expense that comes with that. There's a whole lot of just new logistics. We don't live really far away, but we're still, 2.5 hours away from the venue. And accepting the job with World Fitness Project, that got put on the front burner, making sure that all of that went well and that we honored our commitment to and our relationship to them, which we feel like we've done. And at the same time, trying to continue our growth with Monster Games. And so as soon as the tour event 1 was over, we made it a priority to focus on Monster Games and make this a great weekend. I've been here for a couple of days. We're already in a really good place setting up. The Kansas City gyms have overwhelmed us with help. So showed up this morning early to unload a truck, and there was already 6 or 7 people wandering in before 8 o'clock saying, what can we do to help? And then I looked up and I went to feed people at lunch, and there was over 35 people here from Kansas City area gyms just volunteering, helping, because they were so excited that Monster Games came here. There hasn't really been a large competition in Kansas City. And so that did my heart good, because I'm tired and we've been running ragged, and just to see this community embrace us when we don't live here, that we chose Kansas City to be our next home for at least a while. And I don't really see why we would leave. They've been so accommodating. So we're really excited about, there's 25, 26 really good gyms in the Kansas City market. So that's awesome to pull from. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, and just a kind of big sports town in general, but soccer and football pull a lot of interest there. The baseball team, when they're good.
Yeah, the KC Current bought a booth. So the women's soccer team here, they called me and it was like, hey, we heard you're coming to town. We actually have some of our girls, they do all sorts of different types of CrossFit. Some of them members at the gym here. And they wanted to know if we could buy a booth. So they're actually going to be here doing a little signing session. I don't know if anybody knows who they are or not, but I just think it's cool that they're embracing what we're doing. So I thought that was neat.
And it's in alignment, I think, with what we're also trying to do with WFP, which is have that kind of cross integration and pollination with different fitness communities. I didn't know about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another thing that we're doing this year is going to have the live stream, obviously, for the elite divisions. But I try to make it a point of talking to the competition organizers, regardless of what we're actually going to be showing in terms of a live stream, that the Monster Games is about a lot more than the elite division. It's a pretty big field of athletes that you're hosting this year. Is it the biggest that you've had yet?
Yeah, it is. So we increased our field by about 130. So we had 928 registered athletes. And then, of course, you've got, I think we're up to 7 pregnancies now that we've had girls drop because of pregnancies. So I always, the larger you get, the kind of small things that sometimes happen, start to magnify. So we've had 7 pregnancies. I always find stuff like that interesting. So we'll wind up with a field of about 900 when it's all said and done.
Patrick, I'm so grateful you're here, dude. I was stressed out trying to navigate the back end of this and talk to Jason at the same time.
I think you're muted.
Has it been that long since you've done this?
I don't know. I just was overwhelmed coming off the other work I've been doing the last few hours.
Jason, does he look hot and bothered right now?
He's a little stressed, but it's okay. He's handling it well.
I'm here. No, glad I'm here too. Sorry about that. Running errands, getting from one end of Illinois to Missouri is not as easy as everyone thinks it should be.
Look at this guy. I let him borrow my car and he leaves the state.
I did. No toll bridge.
And Jason, one other thing that I know you've told me about leading up this year is that it's important to you to kind of always offer something to the entire community. And I think in terms of the partnership and support you have this year with the apparel for all the athletes is something pretty cool that you've been able to do.
Yeah, I do. I worry about it. I worry about the lower divisions not feeling like they're treated the same. And so every year as we get bigger, I'm like, man, are we dropping the ball on the lower divisions? Just because they're lower doesn't mean that they pay the same amount that everybody else pays. I'm a big proponent of competition, so I want to put that out there first. I do believe elite levels should be rewarded, and I'm not going to apologize for that. However, that doesn't mean we don't want to constantly be making sure we're finding something. So I went to First Phorm. We have a kind of a recap meeting every year about 6 months before the event where we sit down and talk through what went well last year from a vendor standpoint and a sponsor standpoint. How can they partner better with us? And so I just told them, I'm like, look, guys, it's like where we're at now and what we're doing. You guys are big enough to absorb this, and I'm willing to give some things up on my end if you guys are willing to step up. And I was like, I want to make sure that we've always done elite clothing packages for all of our athletes. Elite from the elite side, meaning they get full decks of clothes for the tops, full bottoms, all sorts of stuff. And that's awesome and that's cool. And we're starting to get a little bit of resentment from the other divisions. So I just said, you know what, I hear you. So I just told the first one, I was like, look, it's 3 t-shirts. Like we're not, I know it's a lot, but at the end of the day, we're going to give up some things on our end if you guys will step up. So they did, and they're clothing all of our athletes for a t-shirt each day. And it doesn't seem like a huge deal, but when you step into registration and you get handed a shirt for every day, that's a color matched and all that sort of things. I think it shows that we're trying to make them feel important. We got some really good other sponsorships to give some things out to every athlete that shows up. So they're going to walk away with a really nice package of things to have, and hopefully they feel that presence. Thick Boy is going to do leader shirts for us for all the way down to the scale division this year. So I think that's pretty cool. So we're trying to do some things so the community understands that like they matter to us. And at the end of the day, competition should be rewarded, but they did have to qualify to get here. So every single person that is here got here through an invite, unless they qualified through one of our partners like Desert City Classic or had qualified for some World Fitness Project. People got invited and stuff like that. So unless you're a partner through a qualifying process at the elite level, you had to earn your way to get here. So
no, and I mean, I think you're absolutely right. there's, and I tell this to big competitions like yours frequently, there are things that need to be considered differently for the elite divisions because they're pursuing the competitive landscape at a very different level in terms of their investment from their life. But for the everyday person that still signs up for these competitions, it is nice when you get some stuff when you check in there, regardless of how you paid or qualified for it. I went to this disc golf competition in Las Vegas. It was my first time like really traveling for one, and I didn't realize, but it was totally next level compared to the local ones that I've gone to here. And it's just a matter of people like you making it a priority and pursuing those conversations, because a lot of times people are willing to say yes, but you have to have the determination to go there and ask the question.
Well, that was what was cool was so First Phorm looked at me, they're like, that's like 3,000 shirts. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand what I'm asking, but if we're going to be partners, like your name is on this competition too. And they're just like, yeah, you know what it is. And they have been such a good partner to me. I didn't expect them to say no. I didn't expect them to like say yes so fast, but within 10 minutes of us flushing it out, they're just like, you know what, we're going to make this happen. And then I reached out to Junk Headbands and I said, hey, I know you guys have kind of pulled away from the space a little bit from smaller comps, but I need you guys to step up. And they're giving a custom headband for every athlete. So we just have some really cool things that I think they're going to feel some value when they come here.
The other thing that's like, I always talk about big competitions like this, every person there will go back or comes from a community of people, whether it's their family, coworkers, gym, whatever. And when you do get a bag like that has 3 shirts, a headband, maybe a couple other things, you can also like give some of those things away as gifts when you go back home, and then it maybe hooks someone else from those small communities to be interested in something in the future. So there's like little ripple effects throughout the world that actually happened from someone like you taking the initiative there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get an opportunity to pay for marketing very much. There's just no real good way to market our competition in this space. So it's either Instagram or it's apparel. And so I'm a big proponent of getting my name on apparel that people will wear back in their gyms. And I see us get tagged and stuff all of the time, and athletes are working out in Phorm Monster Games shirts. I mean, one of our shirts from our main athlete shirt we get from First Phorm, it's a $50 shirt. I mean, it's a Raylan, really, really nice. It's my favorite shirt. So it's not like we're throwing them a $10, heavy cotton Gildan shirt. They're getting good t-shirts, and I think that's important too. So
yeah, plus if they're good quality, then they'll be motivated to actually wear them on the competitive in the workouts.
We have our way of encouraging them to do that. So
the last thing I wanted to ask you about was a little bit about the workouts. I think what you guys did yesterday was maybe 50-ish minutes long of like doing it live on Instagram. My understanding is you've done that in the past, and you just kind of like to get all that information out there for the athletes a couple days before they arrive.
Yeah, we've kind of always made it fun with Jacob. It's a little different now that he had the little girls last night, and we had our debrief call like right before, and he's trying to put the girls to bed. So it's a little bit different this year, but I don't pay Jacob Hepner to do that. Like, he does that out of the kindness of his heart. And so he spends a lot of time with it. So we just like to come to the community and say, hey, if you have questions or you think this is too heavy, like from our sport team, which is Steven Tackett, myself, and Jacob Hepner, we want to sit down and address that with the community. I put a thing on, and I did it late yesterday. It was like 4:00 in the afternoon. I said, hey, I need your questions for tonight. And I had over 300 questions that were sent to us just in about a 2-hour window. And we're like, oh no, this is going to be, and so that just kind of shows our engagement level from years past is I might get 20 or 30 questions. And so I think our engagement level is high. And so we don't want to sit there and go through the weekend with everybody, but on the movement standards, like that's not what it's for. It's to talk about why we program. Like, we got so many messages about our farmer's carry being too heavy. And so up to the point that I'm like, I want to address this because like, I don't know if anybody's done an actual farmer's carry before, but they're heavy and they're supposed to be heavy. And so like, this is competition and it's a struggle. And I believe that struggle defines us. And I want you to step on the starting mat of Monster Games, and I want you to question whether or not you deserve to be there. And that's our goal. And I'm not going to apologize for doing that. And I have so many people messaging me like, I can't even pick these up. And I just reply. And I reply to every single email that I get myself. And I was like, you can pick these up. you're not training them with actual farmer carry handles if you're comparing your max deadlift to a farmer carry, because that is not the same movement. So I'm saying if your deadlift is X number of weight and you're worried because the farmer carry are too close to that max, it's not the same thing. So we just kind of wanted to address those things, and I think we did. And I love all of our people, but athletes, like they just love to complain. I think it's probably worse now than ever, and we just like to have fun and push back on it a little bit. Honestly, we just like, hey, you guys can do this. Like, I want you. If you're not nervous when you come to Monster Games, then you're not in the right place. So.
Yeah, it's just a part of competing, is to have those nerves, yeah. and also to surprise yourself in competition. So
hey, I've stood at a high level competition. When I qualified and was competing at Legends, I had to do 90 GHDs into 10 rope climbs into 150 wall balls. And I got to the point where I couldn't feel my core, and I had to stand at the rope and be embarrassed, right? That's part of being an athlete. Like, I was embarrassed standing there in front of my wife and all of my friends and the people that I eventually went to go work for, and Joe and Bob, and just stood there. It's just like, I'm embarrassed. I can't do this. I can't move. I don't know what happened, but to me, it's like, that's part of what puts fire in my belly. So.
No, I love that mentality, and I love that you guys are willing to have the conversation with the community. It's a very nice thing to see on display. Patrick and I will probably take it over from here and delve in a little bit more to the details, since you spent the last evening doing a little bit of that, and surely have a lot of stuff coming up. But it's important to us to give people the opportunity to hear from the person behind such a big thing as Monster Games is going to be this weekend in Kansas City. And so we appreciate you taking the time in this week to come and share a little bit with everyone.
Yeah, I think the only last thing I want to say is that if you are interested in coming, we donate our gate to charity every year. I don't put that on my budget, and the bigger we've gotten, that's been a bigger and bigger check every year that we have to write. But Resiliency Project is our charity sponsor this year, and one of our lead athletes is actually the owner of that. And you really need to talk to her. Her name's Addie Henry, and she just has an amazing story. She's an amazing woman. She's 27 years old, and she has lived a life, and I love her to death. She's a very close friend of mine. I think the world of her, and we're donating our gate to her charity this year, which has all to do with basically pulling yourself out of depression and alcoholism and drug addiction and, sexual abuse and domestic abuse, and getting yourself moving and getting yourself active. And she's heading that initiative up. So I want everybody to know that I even sell coaches passes. I don't give free coaches passes out. I charge $10 for coaches passes because we want everybody to participate in what we're doing with our charity sponsors. So that's really the last thing I have to say.
That's awesome. Thank you for including that there. And if you're in the Kansas City area or nearby, head on over. Patrick and I will be down there tomorrow evening and getting set up. But we'd love to see you guys on site, obviously supporting the athletes and, of course, this initiative as well. Thanks for sharing that, Jason.
Yep. Look forward to seeing you guys.
Yep. Yes, sir. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Bye.
Yep. Well, let's unmute you.
Yeah. Is there background? Is there background noise, or you just keeping me down?
Your mic is like sometimes clicking.
Oh, I don't have it. My mic's still in storage.
Well, whatever it is, when it's on, when your audio is on and other people are talking, sometimes it clicks. That's why I've been doing that.
Gotcha. I thought you were just denying me my right of freedom of speech.
Never.
No, it's cool. Jason's like I said, he's OG. He's been around for a while. Him and his wife Heidi, they have a really small team. I know we throw that team around, that phrase around a lot, but he does have a small team. It's him. He has a marketing, kind of a social media manager based out of Memphis, and then I forgot his name, but part of his sports team, and as well as Jacob. And he's developed a really great following, a great team. It's a big task. I mean, they've been in Joplin for a while now, that area, to kind of move that location, something you're familiar with, to move it up to a whole new place. He did that because of the athletes, because it's a lot easier to get to Kansas City than is. I mean, you're flying. Most of these people are flying into Kansas City and then renting a car and then driving to Joplin. Well, now it's a little bit easier for them, and I mean, it shows, like you said, an extra 130, 140 people. I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. And you've been to Monster Games before. I have not. But obviously it'll be a new experience for everyone in a new place. And yeah, man, I mean, when you're talking about approaching 1,000 registrants for a competition, like it's a big deal to organize something like that.
Yeah, it's really cool because it has, in the past, the ones I went to, it's a big comp with a small like competition feel. When he had it at Missouri Southern on the university there, it's like, the main basketball arena was they took in all the bleachers, and that was the main competition floor. They had like 2 floors, actually like 3 floors, for competition. And then they had the practice gym that was adjacent to it was basically the athlete area. And you have athletes with tents in there. It's indoor, but they have tents. Their bags. Everyone's laying around. It's really cool. That's the part that I really enjoy, and I know that's a part that you've been doing a lot, is just walking around, getting a feel of that environment. I think knowing Jason, his expertise, and this time being at a convention center, I think he's going to knock it out of the park. I look forward to meeting all the athletes, getting their perspective, and through every division, not just the elite. I mean, obviously we're there. What we'll see is the elite division, but we'll make sure that we talk to some, get touch points on every division out there.
Yeah, and definitely also do the venue walkthroughs. I've been enjoying doing those. I think that several people have given positive feedback as well, because they can pick up some different ideas from different people who've, this is year 8 for Jason. Obviously, he interacts with the community a lot. Former gym owner of multiple affiliates, also, so he's got a lot of different perspectives there. Yeah, but we mentioned it. They released a couple workouts over the course of a couple of weeks, and then they did their full announcement of all the workouts already, and dove into some stuff yesterday. So we're going to take a look at some of the workouts and some of the athletes with the remainder of the show today. And so, I don't know, Patrick, what do you want to start with, athletes or workouts?
Let's go athletes. Wait, well, yeah, let's go athletes. That way, when we talk about the workouts, we can, give some
Sure.
maybe analysis on the what athlete we think is going to do really well on them if we have information on them. So, um, yeah.
There's, I think I wanted to get the totals. I think it's something like 30 men and 30 women in each field.
Roughly, yeah.
But similar to Monster Games, I guess there's 28 men and 29 women on the rosters that I've seen most recently. And I have not seen all of these athletes compete in person previously. There's some that we obviously have, but I felt, I guess, confident, you would say, to rank 15 of each. And
Mhm.
there's definitely some. I mean, I was actually talking to Jason about a woman who's not in the top 15, who is 19 years old and coming to compete there, that he said is quite impressive, and he's excited that I'll get a chance to see her. So we know that there's some athletes on this list, or in this field, that we are going to be learning a lot about this weekend, and you guys might as well. But these are the ones that I had enough information to feel good about putting on a ranking.
How many of these athletes did you find on Apollo? Do you recall?
Find on Apollo?
Yeah, like that
Oh,
had a Apollo ranking, roughly.
they all have rankings in the field.
Hmm.
All of the men did, and all of the women did as well. The women, actually, it was interesting. Like the lowest ranking female in the Apollo Worldwide rankings is Emily Torres, and that's because she primarily competes on the team side of things in the last couple of years. And
She did.
you'll see that she's in.
She did Desert City, didn't she? A couple years ago.
Yeah, she has. She did, but I think she's mostly done team competitions of either 2 or 4 since then.
Hmm.
And but she's in the individual field here. She just doesn't have a lot of individual data, but she still shows up um on his data pulls, because if you finish, I can't remember if it's top 2,000 or top 2,500 in the open, then you also will register on that. And obviously, if you're a good team competitor, you would do at least well enough in the open to be top 2,500.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So yeah, this is up on Instagram right now. We put it up this morning. It's Brian's predictions. But like I said, about 30 athletes. We went top 15. Um, so top 15. We'll start with, who did I put there? I think the men first. And I get this question a couple times, like, what do the different colors? That's supposed to be gold for first, second, silver, and that's supposed to be bronze for third. So I know it doesn't come across. Maybe I should start putting like medals or something there. But I just just some nuances to it. But typically with these graphics, I usually put the favorite, who you predict as the cover photo, and then the runner up or whoever I have a picture of for the main picture here. But we'll start with the men. There's some familiar names here. A name that we just got to know, or we got the interview last week. But yeah, let's start from the bottom and kind of work our way up. We don't have to talk about individually each one. We can do these in groups. So Brian, go ahead and take it.
Yeah, I mean, there's competition data that we have for several of these guys, but it's not necessarily competitions that I've seen them compete at in person. And so I was kind of looking through some of the results that we do have on these guys and trying to make an assessment. Um, I'm not sure. Like when you see guys, like a lot of these athletes have competed fittest experience, monster games in the past, desert city, beach brawl. And so those types of competitions, which are like, this is basically the field that we have. But when you see athletes who do have consistent finishes, like Gabriel Townsend, for example,
Hmm.
two fittest experiences and a beach brawl in the last couple of years, 12th and 18th in those fields. It's not like all over the place. And then relative to this field, it's a decent amount of experience at a similar style of competition. And so I feel pretty good putting him inside the top 15, as that's kind of more or less where he's been. And most of the guys up until maybe Corby Foxhall are very similar to that, where I haven't really seen them compete too often, or I've seen them compete once or zero times, but they have been competing consistently. And most of the rest of the field has a lot less competition experience.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of these competitions. Is like it gives a lot of these guys a touch point for us, and we've seen. I mean, someone like Chris Amara, who has made his living from doing the monster games. Kind of moving up the system. Olivia Kerstedter's done a couple of them, I believe. We've seen some great athletes come through. I think hell, the Brooke Wells, I think, did a something like that. But it gives them touch points and it gives them a high level competition, and I think it's really cool, especially when you see like some of these athletes coming from different regions of the U.S. From the South, from the East Coast, and I think that define it's a very unique competition because it's always a couple weeks or a week before the games. So it gives a lot of these athletes who are semifinalists or whatever, it kind of gives them their games, because for some athletes after semifinals, their season's done, but that's in May. Well, what are you going to do? You train for the games. You want to do a whole training, 9-month training camp, 8-month training camp. So this is a way for you to kind of complete it. And so for a lot of these athletes, this is their games. This gives them that touch point to keep on training, to kind of bounce back. I was talking to Morgan Porter about this. Like, I asked her how many, like, if she peaked for semifinals, did she do another shorter peak? It's teaching them how to do stuff like that. Because some of these athletes you will see at the games or other events in the future.
Yeah, we got one of these guys here in the chat, Tyrell Brunson. He's actually excited to be on the list. A lot of times I get people frustrated with whatever, but Tyrell, looking forward to seeing you this weekend. And I did want to just say, like, because Tyrell's actually similar to Gabriel Townsend. I talked about a couple consistent performances in the like middle tier or middle 10 of these types of competitions over the last couple of years. And then you have like a guy that I noticed when I was doing this assessment that was a little different, Kyle Peterson, third place at Monster Games last year. The only other data point that I had from was 21st at Desert City. And so those are like pretty different expressions, third compared to 21st in what would be a usually similar style field. And it makes me wonder if maybe there's a little bit more programming bias that would really favor or not favor an athlete like that. But having not really seen him myself, I don't know yet. So I'm interested to see what version of Kyle we get this weekend and how his skill sets blend with the programming that we do have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be said to a few of these athletes. Again, like I said, not much data. We get to see them, and I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I mean, we had this conversation with Noah, and Noah's kind of one of those guys that kind of broke through and kind of started off this way too. So I'm really interested in. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of these guys. Getting to know them, tell their story, and figure out why
As
they
you
do this stuff.
as we start pushing into the top 10 of the rankings,
Yeah.
just for some context, like DJ Kessler has competed at Monster Games before, but he didn't compete last year. He was 11th in 2022, 6th in 2023. So it's a competition he has experience with and some success at. And then Cole Caldwell did compete last year. He was 7th. He was also 8th at the Fittest Experience this year. So a couple top 10 finishes, and again, similarly strong competitive fields. And so athletes like that with a couple of top 10 finishes, they will obviously, be favored in the rankings a little bit compared to some of those other guys who are usually just outside the top 10.
Yeah, because it's been it's been, I believe, Grit or Hepner is programmed for this at least 4 of the past 4 years since COVID. I think he's programmed for this. So those guys have a little bit of an advantage. They're used to that programming, that program bias, and they also know what to expect. I mean, when you come to Monster Games, you also there's going to be some type of swim. They've had a swim, I think, for the last 4 years, at least to my knowledge. It might date back further than that. And a lot of people prepare for that. And so those guys, they know that ahead of time, and they're just not doing an online qualifier and learning about this like a month prior to. Like, these guys know it's like, come May, March, or for that qualifier, they're going to hit the pool and get a little bit, or at least I hope they hit the pool and getting a little used to it. But that says a lot for those guys that are returning. I mean, there's a couple on the women's side that are experienced too, and those women are actually towards the top of the leaderboard. Your predictions. So, but yeah, those type of guys. Yeah, I think they're in a good spot, especially knowing the athletes ahead of them.
And I mentioned that for me, there was sort of a little break once you got to Corby Foxhall in terms of like just accomplishments, notoriety, and experience. He did qualify for actually a North American semifinal a couple years ago. Didn't do great at it, but still got into the field as 2023 in the North America East down in Orlando when they were taking 60. And then I saw him compete at Fittest of the Coast the season after that. He's done Metcon Rush. He's done NorCal Classic. So Corby gets around and does competitions. First one that I know of for the year this year for him, but he did have a top 200 open finish.
Yeah.
Similarly, you got EJ right ahead of that. They finished actually within 2 spots of each other in the open. He's a young guy, 22 years old, 7th at Fittest Experience this year. So, these guys are a little bit more experienced, a little bit more success in recent years. But I'm really excited and curious to see Ryan Jevning in this field.
Of course, yeah.
He's you and I have known Ryan. Actually, I first met Ryan when he was helping out with Sevon and I back 4 or 5 years ago. But he's competed on teams at semifinals many, many times and actually been in the hunt for for games qualifying spots there. He's also always throwing himself in the mix as an individual to be able to compete in semifinals or at big stages like Wadapalooza Elite or WFP. But there's not been that many times when I've actually got to see him compete live in a competitive individual field. And so, what's up, Ryan? I'm really looking forward to that this weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I mean, I want Ryan to prove you wrong. I want him to be on the podium. So Ryan, that you can do it. I got you, man. I'm rooting for you. So, but no, I'm interested. I really want to see him. Just go out there and it seems like he's that athlete who really, you see him out there. He's really enjoying what he's doing, and so it'll be really cool to actually get him on a broadcast, talk to him, show, give him the opportunity to show his friends and family him competing that him, that you can exercise and have fun doing it. And Ryan, he says these workouts are very good for him. We should have invited him on.
We could have. I don't like this. I want to try to fix it. Do you think if I leave and come back, it'll help?
Sure, let's try it.
Or should I just lose the AirPods.
I don't know. Your call. But that takes us into your predictions for the podium. I'm not too familiar with Andres, but obviously you've seen him quite a few times. I'm not too familiar with him. Tell me about him.
Andres Surens, I don't think he has competed much in the last year. He was top 10 at Fittest Experience the last time that he competed there in 2024. He also had a third place Desert City Classic the year that I live stream it, and he was second place at the Iron Games that same season, which I live streamed. We didn't live stream it, but I worked at it. He also podiumed at Charlotte Classic that year, so that off season was really good for him. And he hasn't done a ton of competition since. But I didn't actually know this. He's actually coaching my buddy Nikita.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he's like coaching, like online coaching, or is he up in the Chicago area?
No, online remote coaching. They met at Charlotte Classic because they were both competing there.
Okay.
Which is where I met Bryson Talmonte for the first time.
Good old
But
Bryce.
yeah. So anyway, Andres Surens, I mean, he's a veteran compared to a lot of the guys in this field. I would say outside of Max Creek, he has the most competition experience and kind of returning to competition. I knowing him, I don't think he'd be showing up here unless he was pretty confident that he could.
Yeah, I don't think you don't want to come out there and embarrass yourself, especially after the year you had prior to that. It's very, very similar to what the person you have as the runner-up is experiencing so far this season. So, dishing the AirPod.
Yeah, I'm gonna try this. Let's see if it's any better. I guess T-Bird will let us know. Yeah, Noah. I mean, obviously we talked about Noah a lot, and understand that he's gonna, he's basically proven to be able to do everything through the first two competitions that we've seen him at live. There are a few different nuances to these workouts that we'll get to see. So it's just for me, it's like a privilege to get to see him 3 times this year and get a pretty full, well-rounded picture of the different things that he can excel at, the different fields he can compete against. Because a lot of times someone like that emerges and you might see him once in a year and then you have to wait a whole year. That's how it was, 10 years ago when we didn't have a lot of competitions. But now athletes like this who've spent a couple of years putting in the work, when they want to go hit competitions, they can do 2, 3, 4 competitions in a calendar year that are all, different in their own regard, but also meaningful enough to give us insights to them as an athlete. So we'll build an even more well-rounded picture of Noah this weekend.
Yeah, I'm really pumped to see him compete. Like I said, he's 2 for 2, 2 competitions, 2 podiums, 1 event win, a second place. It seems like, this is a guy who didn't have the best games, didn't have game season, hasn't done anything else but these live competitions. And I really like his just the support system he has. His parents own a gym. It's over a 10-year affiliate. He's kind of been raised in the gym rats, him and brothers and sisters. And I think it's really cool that he's kind of taken that in, and and then he's using fitness, he's using CrossFit as a platform to find a second love, like after football, high school football. Now he's leaning into this. I mean, he's only 21 years old, so
Yep.
that's just really cool. And he works, and then he trains. It's kind of like the dream right now. Mom and dad are there. They're big fans and supporters of him, and they believe in the methodology and the movement, the beauty of moving and fitness. And I think Noah, with his background in competitive sports, combine that with his raw capabilities and what we've seen, I really am impressed with him. I mean, we could be looking at someone that's like the next Chris Ibarra, but stronger, significantly stronger, because you've seen this guy can lift.
Yeah, he's been working on it, and he's backed it up on the competition floor. He is also in the comments of this post basically saying that he intends to win and he doesn't like this guy.
Yeah, it's amazing what winning a competition, just like, that's good. I love that. That cockiness. That's like a little bit of that football player. I mean, I believe he's a wide receiver, defensive back, and those guys are usually, they usually have a little bit of chip on their shoulder. So that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. CJ, you're right. Like I have the same Not to mention, I'm sure Brian does too. Looking forward to figuring out who's who this weekend. So, you know, kind of a little preview of some, some of the up and coming stars and in the
Well,
area.
yeah, and if and whether they're Noah or any of the other guys, I mean, the reality is that you have to look at this leaderboard and say Max Krieg is the guy to beat. He's had the competition experience, the competition results. 10th place at Wadapalooza in the elite division is no joke. Multiple semifinals appearances with definitely holding his own there, even challenging for game spots at times. He's won competitions like this before at Desert City last season. So I think Max Krieg across the board is the one that you're looking most closely at. No, I think Blair Chapman is still on the roster.
Brian just doesn't think he's good as you, Ryan. Yeah, Max. I mean, part of the Army Warrior Fitness team. They're no stranger to sending athletes to this competition. They're very familiar with this competition. They typically send a team or athletes to this. So Max is Max is. I'm sure he'll admit this wasn't the great. He had higher hopes. Especially coming off that Wadapalooza. He did do WFP. In Indianapolis, did not do the second one. So this could be this is again another data point for a whole complete year of training for him and his coaches or his coach. So now it's like you peak for this, you finish that, you take a week off, and then you start planning for the 2026 season. So this gives him that data point of what a full season looks like when it comes to nutrition. This is his first full year with the Warrior team, I believe. So how he integrates being full-time active duty Army at Fort Knox into his training plan and including competitions and stuff like that. So it's really he's helped because there's people on the team, like someone we talked to that we'll talk about in the women's side, that he can bounce ideas off of that's been a part of this. So I'm really interested in what Max do, because on paper Max should win this, but again, we'll see what happens. We were expecting Max to do a little bit better when it came to the game season and WFP, and that wasn't the case. But Max is still learning. He's still relatively young in this sport, so I'm interested to see what he does.
Yeah, and Ryan, interesting that you asked about Blair. I mean, he has not competed much in the past couple of years. He had a 2021, 2022, it seems like, when he was at his best. So I wasn't really sure what to do with him.
Mm.
But yeah, that's the men's field. I think, I feel, that there's some stronger names towards the top here, but there's always somebody that surprises or impresses. And it might not even be someone on this list. There may be someone from the other 15 that ends up popping up and making some noise this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean you've gotten really accustomed to this, doing that, like whether it be fittest of the coast or other Metcon Rush, these type of competitions where someone comes out of nowhere and surprises you. I mean, that's what Noah Wilson was. You didn't know what Noah Wilson was prior to fittest on the coast, and he finishes second, and then okay, now you kind of know, and so there's probably someone on this list that we don't know. It could be Colin Bosch. It could be Rankin Holt. It could be someone outside this top 15. And that's the cool thing about this, because that'll create that storyline through the weekend as we do the broadcast. We can start talking about that just like you would at a regular competition. I kind of look at this as like, if you remember Wadapalooza, was it 2020? Was it 2022 when Annika, kind of broke out at Wadapalooza, and she was kind of the story. And the year prior to that was Ellie Turner. There was that one athlete that just like no one really knew or they weren't sure about, and they kind of broke out, and they were just kind of like that. And that's kind of like this at that, to kind of give it a comparison, but at a lower level, at a smaller level, not lower level, smaller level. So, but yeah. So.
Oh yes, Ellie Turner, 6th place at Wadapalooza 2022. Annika was 12th that same year.
Yeah, but then she had that just amazing, that ring muscle up, thruster workout, under the lights and stuff like that. It was just really cool to see. And, they both become like, they've done well for themselves since then. So
let's switch over to the women's field. I think that when Patrick and I were both looking through this, we thought, for us at least, a few more recognizable names and maybe a little bit deeper of a top 10.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like that's been kind of the case. And it just seems like I don't know. Maybe there should be some type of study with her. It just seems like the women they'll compete more than the men. I don't know. It's because we see a lot of names here that we see at a lot, like Mary Helen Saunders, Zoe Warren. These are names that we see, a lot. You know, these are women that are probably doing like 5 to 6 competitions a year. You know, and that's including like if they do a team comp or something like that. But Caitlin Saunders is definitely that type of athlete. Emma Harving is definitely type of athlete, and so is Morgan. That's why we know those names because we're seeing them on this like, regional, fitness CrossFit tour that we've talking about. So and this is basically the last stop of it.
Yeah, and I mean those names are up towards the top, and we would
Sport
we're
for the
obviously
body.
expecting them to do well. But there's a few women uh, in this top 15 that competed actually 2 weekends ago
Mhm.
at Metcon Rush that we live stream. Emily Salome, she was 13th there, and Sarah Firestone as well. So they're turning around and competing twice within the same month, which is same as Noah Wilson's doing. So get a little shout out for them.
I wonder what that I wonder what that week between training looks like. If they maybe they just go and move. I mean, obviously they're not like they're not resting. I mean, I would just wonder how that is. It's kind of interesting. We should ask Noah what he's doing between. I mean, that's something we can ask him when we get there. But no, that's just I'd be interested to hear what Emily and Sarah have to say about like what that week of training looked like if they even trained at all.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, get some touches on some of the new stuff and just keep the body warm. But yeah, I mean, you have to come down a little bit from the competition and then taper a little bit for this one too. So just maintaining. Um, I think that one of the athletes that I'm most excited to see this weekend on this list is Amara Wiley. I hadn't known too much about her. She did get quite a bit of attention in the comments on this post as well. She's out of Blue City and she's done some team competition. She's done Wadapalooza RX, and she also had a 6th place finish at Monster Games 2 years ago. Um, Outside of the team stuff, have you ever seen her in action?
No, I mean, Blue City. Obviously it's local to St. Louis. It's a really good gym. It's ran by Stephen Wallace. He's one of the owners there. Obviously he's made the games with on team. You know, but they're known to put out a lot of good team athletes out of there. So it'll be really cool to kind of see her kind of break away and see what she does. I mean, I think she's done some in the past, but I can't recollect maybe some local ones here in the St. Louis area. But no, it'd be really cool. But yeah, she's coming from a very highly competitive gym where you're talking games caliber, team athletes and high skilled athletes coming out of Blue City CrossFit.
Yeah, so it'd be fun to see her in action. Cool that she's getting some support in the comments. We mentioned Emily Torres, 9th place there. She's been on the underdogs team last year. She moved to Texas recently, so I don't think the training in the heat's gonna be much of an issue for her. But again, it's been a couple years since we've really seen her in an individual field, so I'm excited to see her back out there. She's she actually moves a barbell pretty well. She's very strong for her size, and I think that she may benefit. We'll look at the workouts in a second. Some of these barbell workouts. The woman right above her, Sierra Cole, she's on the roster, but I don't
Wait,
think she's.
you
What?
didn't ask me who I'm excited to see.
Okay, go ahead.
My girl at 13.
Go for it.
Ivy. Ivy's a real good friend of mine. I'm biased on this. It's just really cool. I mean, she was someone who, she this will be I think her 4th time doing this competition. She's been to semifinals as on numerous teams. She does the NorCal every year. She deals with some injuries. She's someone that has a lot of potential, very high skill when it comes to like gymnastics and really good engine, really good on the machines. I'm If she's healthy, I mean, I could see her. I think she's good at 13, but I could definitely see her breaking to the top. Maybe as high as 8th or 7th. But it all depends on how she. You got to see her last at NorCal, and I know she wasn't in her wasn't in the best of shape. She didn't really train for that, so hopefully she's feeling good for this. I mean, I know she's looking forward to coming here and checking it out because this is one of her favorite competitions. So I'm looking forward to seeing her, and she owes me a hug anyway. So
Yeah, and I think you're right that there's definitely some opportunity in this range for a lot of movement with athletes. I was just going to mention, I don't know if Sierra Cole will actually show up for this or not. She is also on the greater heights team that qualified for the games. Um, so we'll see. But you're muted, by the way.
yep, no, I was here.
Okay. But I think that the really stout part of this roster starts at 7 and goes up from there in terms of athletes with pretty consistent appearances at some higher level competitions. And at the same time, I don't know how obvious it is how well some of these women are going to do compared to each other and compared to some of the workouts that have been released this year.
Yeah, that's TBD, like you said. It's interesting. It seems like the top five there, you have a really good mixture of balance. I think there's never. I don't think any of these are truly a specialist in any particular field. I mean, just looking top bottom. I mean, they're all well-rounded athletes. They're just good at fitness. Um, so it'll be interesting. This, I think it's going to be tight. I think the only one that kind of stands out to me in terms of will be Emma and her strength. By far of those top five, she. I mean, this is an athlete. I think at at Syndicate, I think she had one of the fastest times in heavy Isabel in the world. So he's very well versed in the barbell, very strong athlete. She won the strength complex at IF3, last December. So I mean, which was it was a snatch. It was basically a 1 rep max snatch, and I think she forgot what she put up. I think it was like 215 or something like that, something ridiculous. But yeah,
Yeah, and Emma Harbing's I mean, she's got a lot of talent, she's got a lot of experience and a lot of different experience and also results depending on what those competitions are. Like you mentioned the IF3, she has a potential to win stuff there. The workouts are very compartmentalized, and so she also has some sort of lower end finishes compared to those wins, and that she ends up finishing 7th there, which is pretty good. But then you look at 2 other competition data points from her recent history, and she wins fittest of the coast, and she takes 19th at Crash Crucible. And while the field at Crash Crucible has evolved to be pretty impressive over the last couple of years, it's also a different style of workouts that JR tests that has the similar capacity to really expose massive holes in an athlete's game. And it's not necessarily a specific movement, even as it could be something like grip or midline stamina. And he's pretty intentional and clever in the way that he tests some stuff. And so, you're expect to see highs and lows from Emma over the weekend, but by and large, the highs are going to outweigh the lows.
yeah. I was really surprised at where you had Zoe and Mary Helen Saunders. I mean, these are. I know
Yeah.
Zoe it hasn't been the greatest year this year, but we've seen her potential, especially in the past, and Mary Helen Saunders as well. But maybe that's more of a testament of the field that they're in. But yeah, we're looking at.
I think yeah, Zoe is, she's sort of the opposite of Emma, right? She's a much
Mhm.
smaller athlete. She's got that almost opposite skill sets, and but she also has these volatile finishes. She wins Desert City, the 25th at Wadapalooza. Again, it's very different fields, but we see the highs and the lows on the competition resume. And when it comes to Mary Helen Saunders, I mean, she's very good at getting into these competitive fields, whether it's semifinals or whatever. I mean, she had another top 100 open finish this year. But once she gets to those fields, she doesn't have the same high output in terms of finishes. Just in the last couple of seasons, she's gone to Crash Crucible twice, never made the top 20. She went to Wadapalooza in the elite division, finished 40th. So just comparing to some of the other women on this field that have found better competition results
Yeah.
in the live versions of these style competitions, I gave them the edge over her. But that's why I drew the line at 7. Like, I think Mary Helen has the experience to challenge some of these women, but the performances haven't been at that same level yet.
Yeah.
And so maybe this will be the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a really cool race. I mean, I imagine they're heats of 10, or at least heats of 8. So you could, either way, you're going to see them kind of the best. Hopefully, the best women. I mean, obviously, you're going to see the best women competing, in every heat against each other. So especially in that last heat. So I don't know much about Kelly and Nadia. So tell me something about them. What do I need to know about them?
Kelly, I think I met her for the first time at Granite Games in 2022. She was competing there as an individual. And the next season, she actually moved to Australia and competed on a team that took second in the region there and ended up taking 16th at the games in 2023. She more or less took the 2024 season off, and she's back in the mix this season. So a little bit of a gamble because she hasn't competed in a while, but definitely has some high level experience in the past. And I feel similar to Andra Stearns that if she's showing up here, she's probably showing up here, ready to compete again and hopefully at a high level.
Yeah, she was part of that CrossFit Plus 64 team, so some games experience there.
And Nadia Flores, the last 3 sort of competitions of this caliber she's competed at, all top 7 finishes. Desert City last year being the most recent one of those. So, when you can consistently finishing inside the top 7 of this style of competition, I'm going to put you in the top 7 for now. Especially against the women that we see here.
Yeah, that kind of goes into our top 3. We kind of hit on Emma. She's a member of the Army Warrior team. She's now she left Fort Knox. She's on the East Coast. I believe she's in Charleston. Her training partner is actually Reese Littlewood. It's one of her training partners. So she's in that Charleston, South Carolina area. But she's still highly active on the team, and probably the strongest woman in the field. One of the stronger women's in fitness and competition in CrossFit. So I like this finish for her. Like you said, fitness of the coast, she looked really good, winning that. But then she also there are events that she struggles in. But but I think where you have her, it's going to be a pretty close race between those 3 athletes that you have right there.
Yeah, and I mean, they all have, I think, a case to feel like they could be could win this thing, basically. Look at Morgan there in second place. I feel like she's been getting better and better as she's had, again, more and more competition experience. And she's put herself in some of these similar environments, competing at Monster Games last year, just missing the podium, competing at Crash Crucible, having a pretty good online season, giving some experience in the qualifying events this year. It feels like she's maturing as an athlete at those competitions. And the next step is, podiuming here and maybe even winning it.
Yeah, I mean, she has experience with this programming. This is kind of she's driving from St. Louis. She'll be her and her fiance will be driving over tomorrow, and same with us. And I really like her in these type of competitions. She's really blossomed the last year under Sentinel training. We got to see that Crash Crucible where I think she did better than some athletes like Kyra Milligan. I forgot where she finished. She might have finished right around ahead of her, if not, right close to her. And then, she got to stay. She got to, last year when she went to semifinals was her first year as an individual. And granted, she only started doing CrossFit in 2020. Yeah, 2020, 2021. This is after she graduated being a highly competitive gymnast at the University of Missouri as an SEC. I mean, her freshman year, she was SEC Freshman of the Year, and she transitioned as a gymnast, a high-level gymnast, to CrossFit, and now look at her shine. And she's grown so much. So I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I've been able to watch her from afar, but to see her in person, because I'm one of the first people that got to see her. I remember very first competition, and I told her that, hey, I think you might have you can make something out of this, and here she is.
I remember you telling me that a couple years ago.
Yeah, it was at HOA, in a team competition. She was in the scale division, and she got one of her, but it was just really cool to see her blossom into this as an athlete and as a person. But I really think her confidence, she compared to some of these other athletes here, minus the ones that have competed maybe on team at the games, she knows how to perform under the lights. She's competed in front of like 15,000 people, on a floor routine, or on a beam or just anything like that in SEC country, whether it be at, down at LSU or Georgia or whatever, or at Mizzou Arena. So she knows how to compete under those high pressure situations, and she showed that
Yeah.
at TFX. So when she competed at TFX, she was competing alongside Olivia Kerstetter, the Hannah Blacks, some of these, Emily Rethwells, all these athletes who normally she wouldn't, you know, you would have imposter syndrome or not used to being in that heat with them, and she hung with them, and she did really well. And I think that confidence is only going to build. And for her to come to an event like this, where she's expected to be a favorite for the podium or a favorite to win. If she can make that happen, that's going to even make that, it's one thing to be the favorite. It's another to go out there and perform as the favorite. And I think that's the biggest thing that she'll get from this weekend.
Yeah, and I think that the reason why we've got Caitlin, or I have Caitlin Sanders at the top there, she is the defending champion here. She also got a win at Fittest Experience this year, and she placed fifth at that Crash Crucible competition that we've talked about with some of these other women, and it's a pretty good field. She also has two finishes of 20th and 21st at the 60 and 40 person semifinals in the North America East, which is typically considered the strongest field top to bottom for women. Maybe Europe is on par with it. So she's another athlete that has stepped onto competition floors and shown the capacity to do well against strong competition and also to win. And we've talked about this throughout the year. There's a difference between podium and winning. Caitlin's been on the top spot before, and I still think as good as Morgan looks, as good as Emma is, it's a similar mentality that you have to have compared to Max Krieg on the men's side, which is this is the person to beat. And I know that if I want to get on top, they're the person I have to dethrone.
Yeah, and Caitlin she's used to, like you said, she's won competitions like this, so she knows what it takes to win, and she's a veteran. She knows, she thrives on this. She's like sneaky fit too,
She really is.
You wouldn't think like, looking at her or knowing who she is, she has a child, she's a mom, and it's like how fit she is and how serious she takes this, and she's truly a professional amongst this field of athletes that are trying to get to her level. And it'll be really cool. I mean, it'll be really cool to see if she's pushed by these athletes and how she responds to that.
So that's a look at the competitive fields in the elite divisions. Again, about 900 athletes total competing there. We're going to stream the elite competition as much of it as we can, which hopefully will be all the heats. And the workouts are already known. This one's been out for a while, and
It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. The only time that I can remember seeing something that's similar to this is 2013 swim bar muscle up at the CrossFit Games. You got swimming with a gymnastics movement,
which is still kind of like the standard when it comes to swimming workouts and games. That's always been like, that's the one you can always go back to, especially in a pool, and just like, man, how cool was that? And it just surprises me, and I think it's that hasn't been copied at higher level competitions. And I understand there's a lot of logistics involved with that. Finding a pool, getting a rig out there, subjecting your rig to chlorine and water and stuff like that. That there's only a few competitions that have the ability to do that, and that's normally the games. And but I love this. Again, this is bravo for Jason to incorporate something like this. With the rope climbs of all thing. I mean, you're dealing. I'm really interested to see, like, hey, is the rope going to be different for that final heat than it is for that first heat? Is it going to be different? I mean, because obviously that's going to be, I don't know. Is it going to be?
Let's see. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the setup that he has for it. But I feel like with the people that he mentioned who are involved on the sport team, that they want to be doing this unless they felt they could do it well.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it'll be a workout that stands out for the athletes, even the ones who have a lot of competition experience.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm looking forward. I really just want to kind of sit back and enjoy this one. And yeah,
this good. I'm gonna put you to work really hard during this one. Then.
No, I wouldn't. No, don't do that. Yeah, so really cool. you look at an event like this, and I know Emma Harving for the women. She's actually a really good swimmer. I imagine Caitlin Saunders. I think she has a really good. She's really decent at swimming. So those are kind of who I'm looking on the women. But again, the field that's kind of relatively unknown, and swimming isn't something that we know very well in terms of athletes, unless you're one of the top athletes in the world that we have data on. There's probably someone in there that's probably a really good swimmer, and that would do really well. And if you're a good swimmer, more than likely you're probably a body weight athlete, and the rope climbs, whether it be legless or whatever, shouldn't be too much of a problem, I think, for those type of athletes.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's cool to have the rope climbs there, but at that volume, compared to the 300 meters of total swimming, and we know how difficult it is to do something, get back in the water, and how much experience with swimming can help in terms of not necessarily panicking in that environment. The swimmers should excel here, and yeah, we don't know necessarily who all of them are.
Yeah. Do we know if this is a 25 or a 50-meter pool? Or
I
yeah.
haven't looked into anything. I figured we'll just find out tomorrow.
Yeah, because if it's a 25-meter, then the flip turn is going to just again the transition. I mean, Brian, you're a swimmer. Talk about like the flip turn versus like having to kind of like swim, turn, touch, and then turn around. I mean, what did
I
the
mean, basically, the more turns that there are, the more it'll be beneficial, of course. But it's just a way smoother transition from going one direction to the other. You don't have to stop your momentum. You just get to use the momentum to propel yourself back the other way.
yeah. Mm. And it's for the men's side. It'll be interesting. Like I said, I don't know too much about the men's side in terms of their swimming capabilities, but you know, uh, I know like with Max and his background in the military, I'm sure at some point he's been in a pool. He's done some drown proofing, which is completely different than swimming, being drown proof. So, but I imagine there's some guys there. I know Max has access to a pool at Fort Knox. I believe they have yeah, they do. They have a really good actually pool set up at Fort Knox. A really good. No, or was that Fort Campbell? Well, either way, but he has access to one. So, but pretty cool.
Let's look at
Um,
the next workout.
sure. This is called Project One.
Well, in on par or in character for the season here, a little bit of a longer workout: ruck running, sled drag running, ski machine running, sandbag lunge run. He talked about it a little bit as like their version of a high rock style workout. I think outdoors and what says the J baseball field? Yes, outdoor event. So you know, these are the two sort of out of the gym workouts that they have here early in the weekend, and I would say these are the types of experiences that you hope to get if you're signing up for competitions they're unique. Of course, the conditions, the weather, the time of day that you do a workout like this in can matter dramatically. With the divisions the people you're competing against in your division all go at the same time, so it's a relative wash. But yeah, tough. I mean, it's a tough workout, and then when we talk about 3 days of competition, like recovering from this is important as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like this. No time cap. Obviously, Go Ruck is one of the sponsors for this, so it's a good way to incorporate that. Yeah, this is. I mean, I like the sled drag on that. And the running, the skiing. I mean, it's just like a lot of things thrown to you. I mean, it's like a mini high rocks here. So it's really cool. So I love how it's incorporated into this competition. It's kind of yeah. Again, Jason did a good job with this, especially up for day one.
Like we said, most of the other workouts are going to be more conventional in the gym style stuff. And the one that he was talking about early on with the farmer's carry is here. It's 3 rounds for time, 25 toe to bar, 50-foot farmer's carry, 25 chest bar, 50-foot farmer's carry. He's got 150 reps of gymnastics, 75 on the toe to bar, 75 on the chest bar, which is that's no small number. And yet everyone was focused on the weight of the farmer's carries here. But what I'm thinking about in totality is just the grip. You really have to manage the grip on this workout.
Yeah. I mean, you look at that, the per handle and the weight's 440. I mean, yeah. And then the gymnastics here too, the scale for that. I mean, this is really cool. I like this one. What a good way to start off. I mean, you're coming off 2 very unique events to start day one, and then you come into something like this, it kind of wakes you up, gets that blood flowing. Um, you know, so booty's going to be hurting a
Yeah.
little bit, so are the abs.
Oh, and like, heavy farmers carries like that is literally the definition of fitness. Move
Yep.
large loads, long distances quickly. So, uh, you know, you got to like, how could you not love seeing that there?
Yeah.
Country strong.
Yep. I like the title of it too, Country Strong. Farmers carry, so it's pretty neat. I haven't looked at this event yet, so I'm really curious to see what what it actually is. But it's called Hepner.
He seems. I think every year there's a workout that's named Jacob or Jacob Hepner or something like this.
Yeah.
But this is every 5 minutes for 15 minutes, no rest. So it's an AMRAP with a buy-in 3 times. You buy in with the row and the bike. The calories differ for the men and the women, and then it just max burpee box jumps 20 inches for everyone in the remaining time. Yeah, I mean, this is a straight capacity test. Obviously, you can buy yourself some more time if you're really good on the machines, but you got to find a cadence that's just slightly uncomfortable on the max burpee box jump overs and just keep doing it. This is like Fellner's posted a video doing 100 consecutive burpee box jump overs in 5 minutes, basically. And you think about, how good he is in general. Like if you're fit, you're gonna do well on this. And if you're not fit enough, by the time you get to the second round of burpee box jump overs, everyone's gonna know it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're missing.
And then in the third round, realistically, it's just gonna be a pain tolerance test, because burpee box jump over for elite athletes is something that's like a lightweight kettlebell swing or a goblet squat or something or a wall ball. Like you could just keep doing it. You just don't want to.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's going to make that last round be interesting. I hope I don't know. I missed at the beginning of the show. Is Jacob planning on being at the competition? I mean, it's not that far. So it'll be So I'd like to see him
Hopefully.
demo. But this is definitely a Jacob Hepner workout. All it's missing now is maybe like between each round, like some type of shooting, at a target. So, moving on to event 5 called the Ravine.
Yeah, we get some. We had that really long one to start. We get some shorter workouts towards the end of the competition. This is 3 rounds of echo bike and thrusters. The elite weights are 185, 125. There's like a little dip, 20, 15, 20 or 15, 10, 5 on the bike and 10, 5, 10 on the thrusters. So I think manage the bike. You have to be able to move the barbell well here.
Yeah. And I like that because, like I said, that dip, and it goes back up. It's you climbing out of that ravine, out of that dip. So that's a play on words, I think. But yeah, definitely the thrusters, how you move that. I mean, the lactic acid when you get back on, I think after in that middle round, that 15 calories, it's going to hit, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on those last 10 thrusters. If someone, it'll be interesting because you're looking at 185 pound on those thrusters for the men, 125 for the women. I mean, it's going to take a lot to hold on to all 10 of those.
Absolutely. And I really like this workout when you look at it compared to I think what's the next workout, because they're both. Let's see if it is the next workout. Is this the one with the ring muscle ups? The first part of this, yeah, 4 rounds of 6 or 4 muscle ups. I think it's ring muscle ups, and then 3 squat cleans.
Yeah.
So in both, and the weights, obviously it's getting heavier there, 275, 185, but the idea here is that you have this moderately heavy barbell with a thruster for 20 reps. Now you have the moderately heavy barbell with the squat clean for 12 reps, but to like the offsetting movement on the bike versus a ring muscle up, typically, and of course the best athletes will be good at both, but typically there's the athletes that are really good at the power output on the bike might not be the best on the rings, and the other way around. And in the meantime, you still have to be able to move a barbell well. So a couple of different expressions of barbell cycling with the gymnastics, barbell cycling with the machine towards the end of the competition weekend.
Yeah. And then you go right into 7A, event 7A, where your shoulders are going to be free. I mean, your legs, Now you go to your shoulders where you got double dumbbell hang, to overhead, and then you got some handstand walks with that too. So the shoulders are going to be on fire as well.
Yeah, we've talked about it. It's been talked about with when you have these back-to-back tests that one looks like it's very much on the legs, one looks like it's very much on the upper body or the shoulders specifically here. But there's the transference of how the body recovers and stores energy, and like a heavy leg workout can still impact an upper body expression later on. So I mean, I think between these last three workouts, you're still going to see a lot of potential fluctuation on the leaderboard as some people get exposed for different things.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, ooh, yeah. And then you got, then it ends with event 6 and 7, part B, Mission Impossible. So
I think they already talked about this one, no?
yeah, you did. Yeah. So part
Yeah,
B,
yeah.
yeah. They just have put it on the second part. So I mean, so seven scored events, I believe is that
Mhm.
what it is? 7 scored events. So
Yeah, 3 days. The first day, there's three of them. You got the pool, the baseball field run, and then you have the country strong with the farmer's carry. The middle day, at least for the elite athletes, has two, with the Hepner workout with the box jump over, burpee box jump overs, and ravine with the echo bike and thrusters. And then you have a back-to-back on the last day. So they actually only take the competition for one time for the final two scores.
yeah, yeah, and that's and that's first Phorm Monster Games. So
First Phorm Monster Games. If you guys joined late, make sure to go back and check out the intro, first 15, 20 minutes or so with Jason Ansley, the competition organizer and owner of Monster Games. He gives a little history and a little bit of what to look forward to and what he's excited about the move to Kansas City.
yeah. So excited about that. Excited to bring some coverage on that. We'll keep an eye out on our social media, Instagrams. We'll be putting out some content from that as well as heat links to the heat times and so forth. But go ahead and hit
The live stream. The live streams are all already programmed
already up.
on
Yep.
our YouTube channel. So thank you to Chad for getting those up.
Yep. So you can go ahead and click on that little bell button, get the alert while you're there. Click on the subscribe button as well. Doesn't it costs us money to do this type of stuff, but it doesn't cost you guys anything to do that. So to do that for us, so we appreciate it. We're doing this because we like Jason. This is a good event, and we're having some fun doing it. So before we go,
a huge community of athletes out here in the Midwest too that only have a couple of competitions like this a year. So be cool to meet them and interact there on site.
Yeah, which used to be a case like you've spent some time here already, in St. Louis, and I was kind of telling you like the history. There's some deep roots here in the St. Louis Midwest area. When it comes to CrossFit, and Jason's been kind of one of the guys that been keeping it alive here, and with this, and then him, taking over Heart of America, the HOA team competition in October. That it's great to have that come back. So it hopefully slowly but surely we'll start seeing a lot more competitions at that level in this region. So before we go, I kind of wanted this was dropped probably about an hour and a half ago, and I wanted to kind of get your idea, your thoughts on this. Brooke Wells made an announcement today that this will be her last CrossFit Games, number 10. We both know Brooke. I mean, speaking of the Midwest, I mean, she's kind of like the darling of the Midwest. Her mom lives here in St. Louis. Went to school at Mizzou. One of her first competitions, was HOA. Lives in Nashville. When you hear something like this from Brooke, who just turned 30, her and her sister Sydney just turned 30. I mean, right now, I mean, Brooke looks like she's in great shape. Top. I don't know. Just feels like she has a lot more that she can give. What's your first initial reaction when you heard that Brooke was stepping away from the CrossFit Games after this year?
Maybe we should do a little, maybe put together a post that can quantify how impressive her career has actually been. She first did Open in 2013, and by 2014, she was 103rd worldwide. Her Open finishes, I think they get obviously there's a couple women that have better resumes than this, but she went from 103rd to 43rd, 19th. Then she was 9th, 6th, 6th, 11th, 9th, 5th, 6th in the years that spanned 2017 to 2023, which was a very volatile time of the sport with a lot of changes going on. You know, she's in terms of quarterfinals, she had 3 top 7 finishes in North America, regionals from 2015 to 2018, first, third, fourth, first, semifinals, third, fourth, 14th, 7th. And she was on the online one this year, not quite as good. And then obviously, as you said, 10 years at the games with a couple of 5th place finishes, a 6th and an 8th, 4 times in the top 10. The longevity, the consistency from online to qualifying events to the major competitions, that's only within the context of the game seasons. I just pulled those up to help people understand. There's not very many people who've been able to compete at the top level for that long, to make it 10 times. It's a huge investment. It's an investment on the competition floor, off the competition floor, with family, with friends, with relationships, and all the things that are required to balance. And then in the meantime, you know, also dealing with some of the injury, like the serious injury that she had, some of the heat that many athletes have been taking on social media for whatever different reasons. And Brooke just keeps showing up and performing. And I think that, like you said, she's in really good condition right now. I think she'll have a great performance at the CrossFit Games this year. I really hope that she's able to enjoy it. I think a lot of the athletes, as they get towards the end of their careers or deep into their careers, really start to appreciate the moments, the times in the back with the other competitors, the crowd that's there to support them, the wins, the challenges. Just swallowed a bug, I think. But that was uncomfortable. But no, Brooke's, I mean, she's one of the top 10 women all time, I think. And, you know, sometimes athletes like to make these announcements before, sometimes after. That's their own prerogative. But she hinted that this time would be a little different. And now she's telling us why.
Yeah. You know, like I said, I remember watching her, like when you know, she used to drop in at CrossFit Gambit, you know, and, you know, whenever she came through here, and, you know, just, she was one of those first athletes that, you know, I kind of grew up the sport watching her grow up as I learned the sport, and then having those local ties, those Mizzou connections, you know. So, and getting to know her, I mean, some of her, you know, good friends were coaches at Gambit, and, you know, and then every time we see her, it's, you know, she's just so nice to me. And same with Sydney. I mean, the family, Lisa's been great. Her father's been great. I mean, you know, she's the epitome of the Midwest, you know, Midwest roots, you know. Even though she's from Arkansas, but, you know, but she claims, you know, Missouri, you know, Missouri always claim her, and she lives in Nashville now. But yeah, like you said, it's been a kind of a weird season for her. You know, she's become you know, reluctantly, maybe at times, a face or a person, an ambassador of CrossFit. You know, she has a very good relationship with Dave. She has a lot of connections with, you know, the old guard of CrossFit Games athlete versus the new. You know, you're having a lot of athletes, you know, teen athletes who grew up idolizing someone like her. You know, and then, you know, and she's still competing with some women that she idolizes. You know, and it's just really cool. And I'm glad she's doing this kind of on her terms, because it's hard to be an athlete. You know, we don't know much about her private life because it is her private life. But, you know, retiring from the games at 30 years old, she still has not, you know, she has the whole rest of her life. And she's obviously she has some good people in her corner, Todd Mulaney, O'Keefe, you know, just some great people to help her out. You know, she's an entrepreneur. I know at one point that she wants to open a gym of some sort, you know, provide a community, because that's where she came from a community. And I know a lot of people, she gets a lot of flack on that, but she does. I mean, if you go to CrossFit Trivium, she's there. She's there. She's a member of that community, regardless of what people think. And this is from an athlete who has high profile, 1.5 plus million, you know, YouTube, you know, not YouTube, but Instagram followers. But, you know, I think this is really cool. What does this mean for fitness or competitive aspect? I don't think she's going away. I could definitely see her at Wadapalooza on a team, or I could see her. Hell, I would love to see, you know, I mean, if she gets a WFP Pro card for the 2026 season, does she say no to that? I mean, it's a little bit easier to structure that around WFP season, and as well as other competitions out there. You know, the world is kind of her oyster right now. I hate to use that phrase, but she can kind of do whatever she wants. She's made a lot of money. She's invested a lot of time and money into it, so she deserves to kind of enjoy the spoils of that. So hats off to you, Brooke. It's really cool. That's great that you're doing this. I'm glad. I'm glad that you've taken that, and hopefully, I've just seen the events like the back squat, the 1 rep max back squat. She'll do well in that. There's a handstand walk, running, deadlift event. I mean, I picked her to win that on the Heat 1 app. You know, so it's just like she might. I mean, how awesome would that be for her to kind of go out with a podium finish that long, that's long avoided her. So
Yeah, and a lot of opportunity this year as well. So it'll be fun to see what you can do. And congratulations on an incredible games career.
really cool. I don't know. Is there anything else out there that we wanted to talk about? I think that was it. I don't know. Oh,
Good for me.
There is one more thing. I forgot. Duh. I mean, the girls would fucking kill me if I didn't at least mention this. So, um, let me pull it up. Where is it? Stall, Brian. Stall.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're going to preview the In the Box Office episode that there's back to their normal time on Thursday, tomorrow evening. And they've promoted Hot or Not. The CrossFit Games is the topic. I'm pretty curious to see what they will roll out as the different things that they want to debate, I suppose. But seems appropriate given the timing of the season. And yeah, probably another fun episode.
Yeah, really cool. So so that's tomorrow regular time. That's 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. We'll probably be busy, maybe, I don't know, but I'm sure at some point I'll listen to it and then give Kate and Mesa my thoughts on it afterwards. I'm looking forward to that. So they've done a really good job of that. So yeah, and then like I said, we'll have a full schedule of events going on this weekend from the Elite Division, from Overland Park. And yeah, I think that's all we got. Thanks for everyone for showing up in the chat. Thank you to Jason for taking time from his busy schedule. I know he's extremely busy setting up for this event, so we definitely appreciate him coming on. And we also thank ACR CBD for, as always, being there for us, as well as everyone in the chat. Ryan, CJ, Kate, I mean, go down the list. I mean, T-Bird, Jenny. I think Grant was in there as well. So I think Grant was going to try to make it over to check it out. He's only about a couple hours away, but he's got the games next week, and I don't think his wife's going to let him. But yeah, so thanks for joining in. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for showing up. Brian, you have anything else to say before I kick you out?
No, see you guys from Kansas City.
Yep. So stay cool out there. It's hot, and be cool. And also, as always, be friendly, our friends.